Microphone check. Does my mic sound nice? Yes, it does. Welcome to this week's episode of It's About Damn Time. We focus on the real journey to being 1% better every damn day. Welcome to this week's episode of It's About Damn Time. I am Jarratt D.A.M.N. back in the building once again. And if you're new here, I got you. It's About Damn Time. It's a podcast about self-discovery. It's my self-journey. I'm on the road to building a better me, and hopefully through these conversations and revelations, you too can build a better you because we're in this together. Yes, we are together. Now, it's about damn time that we talk about an elephant in the room for a lot of us. And by that, I mean, maybe we might not be the most comfortable and relaxed during sex. Okay, I said it. For some of us, this may sound familiar to you. You're in the middle of the act. You know, everything's all good. You're worried about how your breasts look. You're worried about, if you feel like it's wet enough. You're worried about, all the other 45,000 things that might be in your mind and like what you're gonna do afterwards and what you're gonna do to him. Now, as far as I go, in my mind, it's the same thing for a guy. I'm worried about, okay, am I doing this? I feel like a DJ sometimes because I need to satisfy this and this and this. I forget about my own pleasure. So I feel like it's time that we talk about it. Now, this subject is way too big for me. I need a tag team partner. Somebody that really knows this stuff. So I got Janelle Toussaint. She is a technical product manager turned somatic sexologist, exploring the intersection of somatic sexology, ethical non-monogamy, and relationship technology, which is a mouthful in itself, but it's so fucking intriguing to me. So I'm just so excited to talk about this. Janelle, I'm talking way too much. How are you doing today?
I am doing good. It's a little hot where I'm at right now. It is like summer is beating down our door.
Yeah.
It's springtime, but I'm enjoying it. We had a harsh winter. I'm on the East Coast.
Okay.
For those who are listening, I'm based in the DC and New York City area, but originally I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised.
Okay. All right. What part of New York?
Staten Island.
Staten Island. Okay. I just like knowing that. I just like people knowing that I know the boroughs and everything, and I just be excited to talk about New York stuff.
I get that question a lot from everyone, regardless of whether or not they live in New York or know what they're talking about. Everyone wants to be from New York.
Everybody,
everyone wants to be cool. It's cool.
Look. My 90s was spent trying to. I'm in Louisiana rocking Tim's Untied and listening to Biggie. And they were like, "What are you doing? Like,
what do you need Tim's for?"
I didn't. I just love the style. I was like, yeah, they thought I was a weirdo. They still do. Yeah, they still do. So I want to kind of get into this, but I want to first because the things that you do, like when we look at somatic sexology and ethical non-monogamy and relationship technology, I know there's a lot of things that people don't understand with that. So kind of give a breakdown of what you do, and because it sounds interesting as hell to me.
Yeah. So, like you said, I'm a technical product manager turned somatic sexologist. I have a background in mechanical engineering and computer programming, and that's where my career started. And about 5 years ago or so, I decided to make a pivot. I've always been passionate about sex education and being very invested in being a sexy person, as many people are. They don't like to admit that, but
right.
Many people are. I'm just not shy admitting that. And I've never been a shy person around sex. And so because of my passion, decided to pivot and study sex and relationships full time. And within that study and practice, me personally, I practice ethical non-monogamy or just non-monogamy. Personally, I don't prefer the term ethical because what are ethics?
Right. Okay.
But yeah, so I was doing that throughout my 20s and decided that I had a lot of perspective that I could bring to the non-monogamous space, both from a technical background, like from, being in engineering, and then also from a somatic sexology perspective. So the somatic sexology is really just understanding the nuance of your sexuality, of human sexuality, from a body-based standpoint. Like somatics is really just a fancy word to say soma. Soma is body, right? And so approaching sexology from a mind, body, heart, spirit connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
then the relationship technology part is like putting all those pieces together, like my background in sex and relationships and somatic sexology, and applying that to technology in hopes to building better relationships for folks.
so it's just an interesting intersection in general on how you put everything together. But it's I think it's really necessary because a lot of us don't think of how everything combines together. And I told you before off camera, I've been binging your content, and the way you talk about how you connect how everything connects together. No one thinks about it, although it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So it's so amazing that that you're able to see that, because a lot of people still can't connect it even when you explain it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's why you're here, because I need your help. All right, and I'm sure people listening also need the help too, but I really need your help. So I'm gonna be the guinea pig. Okay. It's hard when you admitting all your fallacies right here to the entire world. But
I encourage you to take a moment. So this is what I do in my sessions, and I allow people to like take a breath.
Okay.
Quite literally, like all the in through the nose, out through the mouth. It's just us.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
you're so good at this. All right, you already got me. All right, so my struggle with sex is that I don't want to say that. I don't want to use the word performative. You know what I mean? Because I feel like there's no passion in there, and I just don't care. But I treat every experience like it's a WrestleMania main event. That's in my head. That's what I do. So it's like, okay, all right, all the lights are shining, everything is going. I got to put on a 5-star performance. The crowd's got to be like, bravo, like, it's like it has to be all of that. And so and I think in me battling with people pleasing for like my entire life, I've turned into this pleasure dumb where that's where I just do, and I don't even look towards any type of satisfaction. As a matter of fact, for the last few years, I don't even know if I'm capable of having that satisfaction, because even if I'm not dominating everything pleasure wise and providing that, I'm if I'm receiving, I'm more so like, all right, I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes, and then I got to get back into it so you can be pleased some more. And it's always one sided. It's always, and then it gets to a point where that's the expectation. So there's no even an offer anymore for anything pleasure wise. And sometimes you just want to be offered. You know when you take somebody out to dinner and you already know you're gonna pay for it, just pretend to reach for the chick. You know what I mean? That's the thing that be in my head. So that's what's going on with me.
So what's curious that's coming to my mind is like, why don't you ask? Do you ask?
Ooh. If I'm being honest, that was a good question. Off the rip. So you so good. Okay, so off the rip, I don't ask directly. And I think I may hint. I think I may bury it inside of a joke. I'm like, oh man, I mean, we don't really do that. So I guess just be, but it's never a direct ask, and that might be, that might be one because rejection, fear of rejection. I think the second thing may be, like what if they do it, and I'm so locked in to worrying about how they're feeling during that, and maybe I've just dealt with, I've had some people that were just very insecure and they wanted to have a good performance or whatever, and so if in my mind I'm thinking, okay, well, I need to show them that I'm enjoying it and everything, and I'm so much so thinking about it, I'm not even in the moment of present. Like I'm definitely not in my body.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is pretty common amongst a lot of people. Um, and I was actually reading, it's called The Art of Giving and Receiving
Mm-hmm.
by Becky Martin. And she talks about this phenomenon very specifically about so her work is around the consent and the wheel
Yeah.
of consent. And there's four parts within her work. There's serving and accepting, um, and then there is taking and allowing, and it splits up the dichotomy between who's it for, is it for you or is it for me, and who's doing, right? Are you doing something or are you not doing something? And the reason why I bring that up is because she talks about how important it is to exist in all four of those quadrants, to have a space where you can allow someone to do something for you. Um, and not even do something, actually more so accepting doing something for you, right? So that's what accepting is. Accepting is um, someone's doing something to you and it's for you.
Mm.
Whereas uh, the serving is doing something for someone else. So those are the two, I guess, phenomenons that are opposite of one another. And then there's taking and allowing. And taking is I'm doing something for me. And allowing is I'm being having something done to me for someone else. And so when it comes to the space of sexuality, folks really gravitate towards, just probably one or two of the quadrants. Most people don't like to spend any time in taking. I'm doing something for me. Here's typically you have an association with taking too much or a fear that the other person is not actually genuinely allowing me to do something, right? So
Mm-hmm.
because we are afraid of taking, we try to get our need for taking in other quadrants. We try to get our need for taking in serving. Like, oh, well, instead of saying I want to touch you, I'll say I'll give you a massage, because those are two different things. A massage is for
Yeah.
me. Like if you give me a massage, like okay, I'm giving me a massage. Like I want my shoulders massage. You see this joke a lot on social media when like a guy's like, I know I'll give you a massage, and then like 5 minutes later they're like all up in your butt crack, and you're like, I wanted a massage. Like you offered me a massage. That is what I wanted. Is it for me or is it for you? Like what's kind of
Yeah.
going on here,
Yeah.
right? And so, and that's why I kind of got back to that question around, did you ask? Like,
Yeah.
did you ask, may I touch you for me? Like, do XYZ for me, right?
Yeah.
Can we exist in that negotiation? And before you even get to that negotiation, you then need to determine, like, is this person someone I feel safe enough to negotiate with about
Mm.
what my sexual pleasures are,
Yeah.
right? Can I bring my full self in there? What is stopping you from the goal? What is stopping you from the goal?
Uh, the goal, like, as in, like, climaxing, or
I would. So yeah, when you do have sex, what's the thing you're trying to get out of it? Is just purely sexual pleasure? Is sexual pleasure purely climax for you?
no, because I don't do that. I don't do that at all. It's very rare.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think for me, I think it's physical intimacy. I think, and this is something that I've talked about, um, just with conversations with friends for in general. I don't I don't I think people confuse sex and physical intimacy, and because they may yearn and crave physical intimacy,
Mm-hmm.
and especially guys, like they might want the physical intimacy, but we're not gonna say, oh, I want physical intimacy. You're like, oh, girl, I'm just trying to crack, I want some sex,
Yeah.
like, but the times where I have felt the most satisfied is actually when it's like after a session and I'm just kind of just rubbing and caressing the body. And for me, that's the only time during the entire process that my mind is not, okay, I need to do this, I need to stimulate this, I need to do this. Here's the G spot, and there's the A spot. Here's, like, we do this. I spend too much time with the clitoris area. Let me look around. So
Yeah.
as I'm sitting there talking about all of this, that's the only time I'm just like relax and I zone out. Like that's the apex for me.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know it makes me weird because most guys probably is looking for the climax for it. Which
I wouldn't say that's weird at all.
really,
No, I wouldn't say
okay,
that's weird at all.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, good. I don't feel like a weirdo. Great.
Um, and so for you, the most enjoyment you get is from that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you describe that moment, from what I heard, you describe that moment as you're relaxed. You feel like, what else do you feel?
Um, yeah, it's relaxation. I'm not in my head. I'm not thinking about, okay, I need to touch this part for a little while. I need to stimulate this part. It's just wherever my hands go.
So
And
what, tell me what it's not. What
so
is
you,
it?
it's what it's
Yeah,
not.
tell me what you're, yeah, tell me what it's not, right? So,
Oh, it's not.
I don't know if you're into like the, universe woo woo,
Yeah.
psychology, but overall, like, the universe doesn't understand not. It only
Hmm.
understands what is, right?
Right. 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 Right.
When you tell a little baby, like, or, toddler, like, do not drop it, the first thing they're going
You're gonna drop it.
to and drop it, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to like, hold steady, you got it, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so I asked that question again around like, what is it that you would want it to feel like? What would you want
Um.
your sex or your sexual pleasure to feel like? One of the things you keep coming back to is relax, but I was just wondering if there's more.
Um. Oh, man, great questions. Yeah. I think because I think why I go so much to relax is because my brain's constantly going. I'm constantly problem solving for other people. I'm constantly coming up with solutions and process improvements and podcast episodes. So um having an opportunity where I disconnect, where I'm literally with my body instinctually, and not anything that's going on in in the back of my mind going to the forefront. I think that's important to me. And like the only other time um I can do that, maybe scrolling sometimes, and even then something comes up like content like from you where I'm like, ooh, this be a good podcast episode, So I think that's what I'm looking for, that escape. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, all in their heads and everything, and so they're looking for that way to just get out and just experience pleasure and just be relaxed, and let their body just flow, and not have to sit there and think about everything else or
Yeah.
what comes next.
Yeah, I would I would say that too. I mean, I've experienced that as well. Like, there's constantly times when I am, my brain, I'm here and then I'm there. I'm off. Like
Mm.
there's moments where I'm present, and there's moments where I'm losing that presence and losing that relaxation. Especially in our really busy lives, it's so full all the time.
So how do you
Yeah.
do that? Like, how do you? Because you are the somatic sexologist,
Hmm.
and so we're gonna look to you as that expert to know how to kind of get out of their mind and relax their body. How do if you're facing it, how do you get out of it?
Yeah. So how we are in small things is how we are in all things,
Mm,
right? So we don't suddenly turn into different people when it comes to the bedroom. And I say that to say I have to cultivate a practice of coming to presence outside of the bedroom. It needs to be practiced. And so when it comes, I think that's one of the main misconceptions around things like meditation and mindfulness, right? Is you got to get to a place where your mind is quiet, you got no thoughts, and you're just existing. And it's like your brain is meant to think. That is what it's designed to do. It does not, meditation, the point of meditation is not to have a perfectly clear mind. The practice of meditation is actually how well can you focus on something. So whether that is your breath, whether that is you closing your eyes and you're just focusing on birds chirping, like how well can you hear that? um, how well can you focus in on the food that you're eating and pay attention to each bite, right? That's what mindfulness is. That's what meditation is. And the practice is taking that focus. How quickly can you, when you deviate from the focus, come back? And with practice, that period of time gets shorter and shorter and shorter, and your focus is able to improve. And so when you're able to incorporate that practice in your day-to-day life, if within your work, within when you're with your kids or with your family, you have something that is accessible to you to practice mindfulness, to practice ease. Even just at the beginning of our call, being like, hey, let's just come back to center for a
mm-hmm,
moment. It
mm-hmm,
didn't have to be long. It
mm-hmm.
wasn't long. It was
Yeah,
like 10 seconds at best.
yeah.
Um, this is what I mean in the small things. And that means that when you're then take it to the bedroom, you take it into your sex life, and you're more likely to notice, oh, I'm present, and now I don't know, like now my mind's on the grocery list, or
Mm-hmm.
what TikTok that was just on the other day, right?
Right.
You able to bring yourself back to breath, bring yourself back to taste, touch, whatever it is that your practice is, right? Back to your senses. This is where you go back to somatic, like soma, the body,
Mm-hmm.
back to senses. Your body's intelligence is through its sensual experience.
That's interesting. I've always I've always had conversations with people about meditation in that regard, and they don't
Hmm.
listen to me at all. But I'm not the expert like you. But because I got into it, and I had to learn it because I think beforehand I was thinking, okay, yeah, I need to clear my brain, and that's what I think. Like you said, most people think
Yeah,
that.
that's what they teach you. That's very Western understanding of what
Yeah,
meditation.
yeah. But I've but just what you saying, the focus on the breath or focus on some sound, like I might have frequencies playing when I meditate. I really got to get back into that anyway. um I might have frequencies playing, so I'm listening to the frequencies and focusing on that. Now you relating that meditation to like being with yourself, being in your not in your head during sex, is very interesting because I've never put those two together. So for me, I know that part when it comes to meditation, but when it comes to like sex, and I'm like, I need to do this, I need to do this, and it's weird because even though my perspective is the pleasing part, I know so many different women that I care about in my life, from like my mom and my aunt who are in their 70s who said they can't shut off their brain when it comes to sex, or like friends and siblings, everything like that. It's we don't get the whole let's just focus on one thing, and then when you get distracted, take a breath and come back to it. Why is that so hard? Is it because it's a partner involved, and you're worried about pleasure, and why is that so hard to just make that transition to think of like that?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is just the fact that if is it a practice? Like, do you do that outside of the space? The bedroom and sex comes with so much baggage. It comes with so many things that, like you said, it's top of mind. Even if it's not work, maybe it's just other things. Maybe it's how you smell. Maybe it's how you feel in your body. Maybe it's, you just had a shitty day, you know? There's so many things and so much extra baggage that comes to the bedroom. But when it comes to mindfulness and being able to focus and come back to present body, it has to be a practice. It has to be something that you do and you incorporate in your life, which is why I said, and my mentor says all the time, like, how you are in small things is how you are in all things. You mentioned that feeling that you get when you're like watching TikToks and like kind of on just I say TikToks just on social media as a whole. And I bring that up to say that that's where a lot of folks today, even myself included, where we assume that that's our presence because that's the one moment where we're not thinking about other things. We're mainly just focused on social media, which is a practice. Like, that is where your attention is. That is where your focus is. And so you're like, cool, I feel a little more relaxed. It's like, well, yeah, if you're like just doom scrolling, like, in one sense you're relaxed, in one sense you're not, probably,
Right.
depending on what you're doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Depending on your feed. But is there a way where you could take 5 minutes of that time and instead focusing on your body and practice focusing on your body as opposed to focusing on an external device, right? And then building up that time. Because when I was first on social media, like, honestly, that shit was boring. I was like, this is boring. I don't get why people are on this. And they get curated over time, and now I'm like, I could spend an hour scrolling. Like, I could easily spend an hour doing that, and the time blinks by.
Yeah.
But it didn't start that way. I didn't start being there on there for an hour. It started with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, etc. And I found more interesting things. And of course, the algorithm does its own thing too. But it's still a practice. Whatever we do, everything we do is a practice. You get up every day. Most people, I work for myself and I work from home. But if you have a 9 to 5, you have some sort of ritual. You wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. You might get your kids ready. You might take a shower. You put on your clothes. You get in the car. You go to work. That happens every single day, or at least 5 days of the week, right? That's a practice. Yeah. I think when we think about practice, we associate that with like sports or something that we have to do very intentionally, and we don't realize the things that we unintentionally practice. And so bringing that back to the bedroom, bringing that back to our sex life, that it is incredibly difficult and also incredibly unfair to ourselves to expect that we're going to suddenly be a completely different person once we enter the bedroom versus how we are 95% of the time. Like, how, and also that question of like, how often are you even having sex? It's like, really, like, think to the percentage of time that you're existing in this space versus everything else. And like, for some reason you think that in this particular space, you're suddenly it's gonna just turn on and you're there.
That's real shit. That is so real. That's real shit. So that makes a lot of sense. Just practicing that overall, because all we're really doing with our minds that are constantly going all the time is just, doiling it. We're like, all right, I'm going to distract myself, and it's not necessarily. And like you say, with external things and not doing it internally. That makes so much sense. Yeah.
It's hard to be internal. You pick up on things,
Yeah.
right? You notice stuff. So another practice that I'll do sometimes is when I get out the shower, right? We're Black. We put on lotion.
Right.
Put on oils. We put on. When was the last time you focused on the touch that you're giving yourself? Did you just?
Yep. Because I'm running late. Yep. So I gotta go.
Put on a 5-minute timer. Take 5 minutes to put on your body lotion. Use all 5 minutes. Make it 10 minutes. How does that change? Can you sit with touching yourself in a non-sexual way, but in a sensual way?
I think I love your approach to this because even with everything that you're talking about, and this is where I'm getting to, you correct me if I'm wrong. Everything you're talking about, everything that every practice, even you getting me together at the first part of this episode, everything is like slow down, relax, breathe. And I think in our environment, especially me, I got a Virgo moon, so I'm constantly like do this. So in the grand scheme of things, even it's just being honest, behind the scenes, looking for this podcast episode. Even though I start going out a mile a minute when I started, the first 10 minutes before you got on, I'm like, just remember to breathe, just remember to relax, and do that. And then you came on, and I hit record, like. So
I do it all the time. Like, I'm glad that you like my content, but like, I got like 100 bad takes, like of me tripping over my words. Like my very first one of my very first videos, like. I have a shot of me like spitting in my chair because I'm so nervous, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, so it's normal. I wouldn't say it's natural because that's not our natural disposition. It's our environment. And it's our capitalism environment. One of the proponents of capitalism, of white supremacy, is false urgency. That is and so this is where we go into it being a practice, because honestly, everywhere else expects you to be rush, overly anxious. It's a very anxious generating society. It's evidence that our nervous system is dysregulated. And I am talking about myself here. Like, just because I'm a somatic sexologist, I'm also in the practice. It's a lifelong practice.
Yeah.
It never ends. I just may happen to be a little bit further in that journey.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to turn around and help you, like, hey, yo, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, but I'm still in that practice. I come from a corporate background. Like, that was incredibly pivotal to my early career. And even then, that transition of like, cool, like corporate runs you into the ground, but then try working for yourself.
Yeah.
You are the one who's working yourself into the ground, right? It doesn't remove itself just because you remove it from the environment, because it's a practice, right? So I used to be getting up 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm, working all day. I'm like, okay, I'm stressed. Like, I'm dysregulated. I'm like, this was the reason why I left corporate, was to not do this to myself. Right. And so I just came back from a training in Panama, and my mentor said the same thing. She was like, I still think you're still in it. I'm like, I am. I still like because she's further along than I am. She's been in this for decades now, and she's like, okay, you need to be focusing here. You're still dysregulated. I can see it. On you. You should be further along in your meditation practice, and so I don't say this from like a pedestal position of like, well, I'm doing it and you guys,
right?
Get
your shit together.
together, right? You know, you want to have good sex. I don't know what to tell you, but
I'm
it's
having great sex, so I don't know.
I don't know. And so yeah, it's still a thing that I also work on for myself. And one of the biggest things for me personally that is going on is coming and is realizing how much my meditation practice is important to my work, but also to my sex life. Like,
Hmm.
again, as an entrepreneur, and I talk about sex all the time, and then I get into the bedroom and I'm like, okay, yes, and then I got to do this, and then I now know too much, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I'm a
And so
nerd, so I'll
I have this huge
research like
problem.
crazy. I'll research like crazy. So now I have all this fucking information, and so now I'm just like I'm telling people like, okay, you know, you gotta, you know, like
Yeah,
I'm literally explaining. I literally explained to partners about the A spot because they didn't know about it. And so now I'm like, okay, well now I got to do this, and that adds to that whole WrestleMania main event type of thing that
mhm.
I'm doing because now I got
We're up here. We spend the whole time up here. And so like that's what the mindfulness practice is realizing like, okay, I now need to drop below the neck. I need to drop into here. And this is where we can meet each other in our, in our openness,
hmm
in our sexiness, in whatever it is that we're meeting each other in. If we spend all time up here, you're like, cool, I need to hear the techniques, and this is what I need to say, this is how I need to say it, this is, it's a performance. And there's a crowd up here. When you drop in, there's only this. That's only when you drop below the neck, your body only cares about what's the input that's coming in, input through your senses.
mm.
When you're up here, it's like there's a lot of competing philosophies, thoughts, etc. And yeah, it's psychologically crowded.
So I feel like what you're telling me, um, because there's no quick fix. You can't get
There's so much to
uh,
do.
yeah, you can't just, it ain't like, okay, for like the next 15 minutes do this and then you're gonna be like bow bow.
That's what they want. Yeah, that's what a lot of modern, sex coaches or sexology as a whole is very much like. These are the 5 tips. Like I try to give everything in content bites, but it's really deep work. It is not something that can be fixed overnight.
Mm, mm. Okay. All right. That's
Once you start fixing your sex, you realize all the other issues in the other parts of your life. You're like,
that's what it's feeling like.
it's a thread that once you start pulling, you're like, oh my god.
That's exactly what it's feeling like. It's like, oh shit. So it's not the sex. It's yo, Jared. It's the whole enchilada you got going on right
It's the
now.
whole thing. Honestly, once you like a lot of the pieces is like once you pull apart all of the other things that are blocking it, the sex comes easy.
And I think it's even rougher when you start adding additional stuff. Like, so for example, you talked about non-monogamy. I don't want to say
Uh,
ethical. I'm used to saying ethical. Non-monogamy.
yeah.
And so you adding open marriages,
You had an extra
relationships.
person. Now you had an extra person in the room. Like I had talked about in the video that like it's one thing to have a theoretical crowd in your head. It's another thing for another person to literally be there.
Yeah,
Like that's not made up. Like now you literally have a person there watching you,
yeah.
right? Or like seeing you, visualizing that. Like that is an extra layer of regulation that you need, an extra layer of awareness that you need about yourself, about your needs. Um, it gets even more important or equally as important to learn how to ask and what does your want list look like, what does your willing to list look like,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
When you add in those extra layers because like that person is a whole person, they're coming with their own
Yeah.
baggage, their own understanding, their own awareness. And so I would say non-monogamy, I've always said like non-monogamy is just relationships on hard mode.
You know what? That's so funny because I think the common thing is people think that that's if I can I convince my partner that be non-monogamous, it's easy mode. But it's harder because you have to do a lot more communication. You got to set a lot more boundaries. You got to be open to like you got to express when because you're human. So you may have some sort of jealousy or envy at times, and you got to have to talk about. I I usually compare it to shaving your head. Like people think it's because I've shaved my head before. I'm like like bald, baby
Yeah.
oil, all this stuff, right? I'm like, oh, you didn't feel like doing any work? No, shit, that's fucking more work because I gotta constantly shave. I gotta make sure that the bump's not there. I gotta keep.
Yeah, that's
So,
fair.
yeah,
That's fair. I learned that my husband is bald too, and I was like, yeah, you just bald. Like that's it. You have no hair. What are you doing?
yeah.
I learned that there's a lot more that goes into maintaining a nice bald look.
Yeah, it's so it's the same thing with non-monogamy. You have to, if you are a poor communicator, but you just want to have sex with multiple people, that shit ain't for you. It ain't gonna work.
It's not gonna work the way you think it's gonna work. I'll tell you that
No,
much.
no. Okay, so all right, so if there's not necessarily an easy way, because you said it's a practice, so it's not necessarily an easy way to do this. Um, what tips can people learn? What can they start doing in their everyday life now to get them ready to enjoy sex more?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I mentioned a couple of them around if you're someone that it is hard or difficult for you to remain focused or present with touch when someone else is touching you. I would start with self touch. I would start with, if you're in a shower, taking a little extra long to shower your body, taking a little bit extra, set a 5 minute timer, a 10 minute timer, and lotion your body and take all 10 minutes to do so. Um, because that is starting with self is one of the easiest ways and most accessible ways to practice touch, right?
Mm,
If you are someone that, um, is just easily distracted, when it comes to sex, then I would say like try incorporating a mindfulness practice, something small. Start with 5 minutes every day. Can you give yourself 5 minutes to just focus on your breath? Can you give yourself 10 minutes? Can you work your way up? You start with 5 minutes, and you work your way to 7 minutes, and you work your way to 10 minutes. Um, and that's really up to you about like how fast, or there's no set time limit on that.
yeah.
Um, what else? Mindful. Like if you're someone that is like taste is one of the things that really distracts you. Or smell is something that really distracts you. Spend time with your own body. Like, are you someone that's like, I need to scrub for 20 minutes before I have sex? Cool. But if you need to scrub 20 minutes before you have sex, it's fine, right? And what happens when you do have that when you smell sex on you? Like, what happens? Like, after sex, can you just exist in that moment? Or do you feel like you have to go and clean again,
Yeah.
right? If you're someone that journals, taking a you know just taking someone taking a moment to journal. Maybe you do a masturbation journal. How does it feel after you masturbate? Like for someone who has a really consistent journaling practice, like, do they ever journal about their sex? Do they ever journal about their masturbation?
I've never heard about a masturbation journal.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. And should be things that are accessible, right? I'm not telling you like, okay, let me go buy a journal. And if that's not something that you do already, you're already adding in extra barriers on
Right.
top of right? That's why I really like the shower example. We all shower. We're
Mm-hmm.
black. We put on lotion. This is something that's really accessible that we do every day.
Yeah.
It's easy. You easily just added it in something like, okay, I'm at least just gonna give myself 5 minutes and just stay here. You'll notice things. You'll notice like, oh, like I have a cut there. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, like, oh, I didn't know that. Why is it that our partner is more familiar with our body than we are?
That's a good point. That's a
You
good
know,
point.
I live. I always tell my husband, I'm like, I live here. I live here. You don't. I gotta live here, right?
Yeah.
Um, if you're there's some things around like body awareness and self love, self care. Have you spent any time watching yourself in the mirror? And when I say watching yourself in the mirror, just like looking at yourself in the mirror as you
Mm.
would look at another person. Um, Oftentimes when we're in the mirror, we have to be doing something. Hair,
Yeah.
makeup, putting on clothes. Let me, check here. And we are societally told that it's vain to just look. But everybody else gets to look at me all day. I don't understand.
I mean,
Like
true. True.
everybody else gets to spend the whole day looking. But if you take 10 minutes to just hang out with yourself in the mirror, pay attention to what thoughts come up in your
Ooh,
brain.
that would be so rough for me.
So, like sit fully
Yeah.
clothed, like just looking. Maybe one day you lose the shirt and you spend 10 minutes like that. Maybe the next month later, 2 months later, a couple weeks later, you lose the pants and now you're existing just
Mm.
you.
Mm.
And again, looking as you would look onto someone else. And that's a great way to if you're around like body awareness, around comfortability being naked.
Yeah. Cause I know a lot of people that's like, I ain't
Lights
comfortable. I'm
off.
gonna leave my lights
Lights
off,
off.
cover up, shirt
Yep.
still on. Just go on and dig in and let me hurt.
Yeah.
I know a lot of
Mhm.
people. Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, and I'm sitting
If
like,
you are a
look,
lights off person, cool. Could you a candle in the corner,
a nightlight, something,
a
you know?
nightlight?
Yeah.
And again, I keep coming back to accessibility. I keep coming back to what you are doing are practices that help keep you safe, help your body, your nervous system stay safe. So it's not to demonize what anyone is doing. It's really just like if you're here and if you're at point A and you want to get to point B, what is a baby step that you could take today that would put you in that direction? If you're like, I'm perfectly fine having sex in the dark and I don't care to have sex in the light at all. I only have sex at midnight. Okay, cool. Like, who am I to say that that's wrong?
Yeah.
Not wrong. Okay. Is there something that you want to change? Yeah, well, even though I have sex in the dark and I'm perfectly okay with that, I just I'm not having the sex that I really want to have. Okay, well, why not? I really want to be touched without having the expectation of doing something in return. Okay. Did you ask? Okay. You asked. Did they say yes? Did they say no? Well, they didn't really. When you push people on whether or not they ask, you were really honest about like I hide it in a joke. I go all the way around asking,
Yeah.
and like asking is the most direct way. We take
That's
the really
real.
long route, right? So, yeah, it's not to demonize what people are doing. It's really just to assess, like, are you having the sex that you want to have
Mm.
fully, full stop? If you can say with your whole chest, like, yeah, every time that shit hits, great. I mean, What do you need me for? You don't need me at all. You don't need me at all. Maybe the question might be around exploration. Maybe like, yeah, the shit hits and I want to explore.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That's a totally different category of like,
Yeah.
explore. Okay, tell me what do you like about your sex? So I can tell you, okay, these are the things that it might be helpful. If you try that and you feel euphoric and you feel excited and you feel tingly, great. That's probably a thing that you enjoy. But most people don't. That internal navigation is a little harder to find.
It really is. It really is. And on that note, I'm gonna transition into the last part of the show. I like to do a little thing called "It's About Damn Time," and since most of my audience is right, it just happens to be in your probably demographic of people who you're trying to connect with. I mean, they might struggle with pleasure and figuring out, what's pleasure like for them. So I want to ask you, kind of open-ended question: what is it about damn time for people to start doing to find pleasure during sex?
It's about damn time people admit the sex that they want to have and admit to themselves first. You cannot have the sex that you want to have without admitting it to yourself and then admitting it to the people that you're having sex with. It's about damn time to get honest.
That shit real. That shit real. Because some of the things live in a dark corner in the back part of my brain that I
you put it on a shelf all the way back here.
I'm like, I can't be telling people that's what I want to do.
Dust. It's collecting dust. Why can't you?
Why can't I tell somebody I want to have a threesome?
You're grown. Who gonna beat your ass?
Right.
You're grown. Who gonna beat your ass? Like,
that's real though. That's real. Okay. All right. You know what?
Unless you want someone to beat your ass, which is a whole
nother thing. I just had a conversation with somebody about that, and I was like, they didn't know anything about that, and I showed them pictures on Twitter, and they were like, "Oh shit!" I said, "But I don't yuck nobody up."
Impact play. I love impact play. It's great.
I might get there. I don't know. You know what? I might have to come up with that list that you talked about. That I always advise other people about it, but I've never done it for myself.
Yeah.
Huh. See, look at you helping. You helped me this entire hour. You're helping other people listening. So in case people want to learn more and maybe have some one-on-one sessions with you, so you can help them. Tell everybody where they can find you at, where you're located, what you're doing. I know you got something coming up fairly soon, so please promote that as well.
Yes, of course. So folks can find me on Instagram and TikTok at the Sexologist, and also at thesexologist.com. I am going through a bit of a rebrand, so I'll also include my new links and things to you, so you can include them potentially in the show notes and stuff like that. And the relationship tech that I'm working on right now is called Laketi, and it is a coaching platform to help couples and those practicing non-monogamy build out the relationship that they want and desire. And so it helps them establish agreements, learn sex and relationship education related to non-monogamous relationships and alternative relationships. And it also provides crisis intervention, breath work, mindfulness practices that really just help you reconnect to self.
So it sounds like I need to have you back on. Since we're friends now, I'm going to go ahead and claim that. It sounds like I need to have you back on to talk about non-monogamy and the exploration of that as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about non-monogamy.
Hell yeah. All right, because I got questions. I got questions, and I know you got the answers. Yeah.
Most people do. Most
Okay.
people do.
Look, this has been absolutely great. I really appreciate you. I do consider you. Yeah, we tight now. So you'll hear from me. But thank you so much for being a part of this About Damn Time.
Thank you for
I really
having
appreciate
me.
it. Thank you for joining me this week on this About Damn Time. Hey, if you like what you heard, follow this podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and IG, and join the conversation on this week's episode. Link to all my socials in the show notes. You can also show love by simply giving me a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And of course, for more blogs, pods, and other digital content, go to thewholedamnshow.com. Until next time, I'll see you next week.